This is a picture of John Wilkes Booth, the assassin of Abraham Lincoln, giving the same sign. John Wilkes Booth was a member of the Knights Templar Masons. It is interesting to remember that after Booth had assassinated President Abraham Lincoln, he shouted out, "Sic semper tyrannis," which means thus always to tyrants. What Booth was saying was that murder is the desirable end to anyone they consider to be a tyrant. History does not satisfactorily explain why Booth believed that President Lincoln was a tyrant. But I believe that the real explanation is that Booth considered Christians to be tyrants and Lincoln was a Christian. Pike added this confirmation to the thought: the freedom of man lies in his reason. Apparently man is being kept a slave by Christianity, and tyranny is a form of governmental slavery. Pike continued, Satan is not a person but a force created for good. It is the instrument of liberty or free will. Here again we see the thought that religion makes one a slave and reason frees the individual, because Pike believed that faith and reason were not the same. He wrote this on page 296 of Morals and Dogma. Faith and reason are not opposites but antagonistic and hostile to each other. But Mr. Pike was wrong. Faith, meaning religion, and reason, meaning man's ability to know good from evil himself, are opposites. This is what I've been trying to illustrate for most of this lecture. This is a picture of Annie Besant, a Satan worshiper, giving the same sign. She's the only woman that I can find giving that sign, but there she is. This is a picture of Jesse James, the famous outlaw, who's on the left, and Frank James, his older brother, on the right, giving a similar sign. Jesse's hand is placed a little differently than is Frank's, quite possibly indicating that he is not a master mason yet, but is a lower degree mason. It is known that Jesse James later became a 33rd degree mason. What these pictures illustrate is that those who have been born again to Lucifer have a secret sign that they use to let others know that they have been said to be born again. They are said to be born again to Lucifer. And this is a picture, hold on Christians, this is not very pleasant. This is a picture of Pat Robertson, the Christian evangelist, giving the same lion's paw sign on the cover of the February 17th, 1986 issue of Time magazine. Now I must be honest, I cannot testify that Pat Robertson knew what he was doing when he was asked by the photographer at Time magazine to stand this way with his right arm in this position. All I can say is, all I can do is show you what the strange sign means in Masonic terms. It is quite likely that Pat Robertson did not know that he was giving the Masonic sign, that he had been born again to Lucifer, the Masonic God. But if that is true, why did Pat agree to having his portrait taken for the magazine when he did not know what he was being asked to do with his right arm? Most people would at least question it and say that they would refuse such an unusual request. I have heard that Pat has an explanation for this strange picture. He reportedly told a fellow minister that the reason he was standing this way for the cover was because he had fallen off a horse and injured his right arm. You can decide for yourself whether that story makes sense. But I would like to discuss another enigma about Pat Robertson. Pat has written a book called The New World Order. This book was published in 1991 after my book by the same name came out in August of 1990. But Pat Robertson's book raises some very disturbing questions. He starts by saying this on page 9 of his book. It is my firm belief that the events of public policy are not the accidents and coincidences we are generally led to believe. Mr. Robertson was admitting that there was a conspiracy. So it's quite clear that Mr. Robertson